Hey Reddit, I'm having some serious family drama and I need your thoughts. My name is Ava, 28F, and this all started when my sister, Clara, 32F, invited me to spend Christmas at her house this year. It all seemed like it would be a fun holiday, until things took a turn. Clara has a 2-year-old son, Henry, and over the past few months, I've helped her out with babysitting here and there. I don't mind doing it in small doses, but it's not something I really enjoy doing for long stretches. We're a close-knit family, and there's always been a general understanding that we help out when needed, but it's never been all on one person. I wasn't the only one ever expected to watch Henry, especially when there were so many other relatives around to pitch in. So, when Clara asked me to come over for Christmas, everything seemed normal until she started hinting at how she'd need help with Henry. At first, it was casual. It would be so great if you could watch Henry for a bit on Christmas Day while I get some things done. I said yes, thinking it would just be a little while and I could still enjoy the holiday. But then, a couple of weeks before Christmas, Clara called me to discuss things more seriously. That's when it started to feel more like a demand. Clara said, "I'm counting on you to babysit Henry during the entire Christmas celebration. It'll be a long day, so I really need you to help out." I was taken aback. I didn't mind watching him for an hour or two, but for the entire day? I couldn't get behind that. I told Clara, "I'm happy to help out, but I can't be the only one responsible for Henry all day. It's a family gathering, and I want to spend time with everyone, not just be stuck babysitting." She didn't take it well. She said something like, "Well, if you're not willing to help, maybe you shouldn't come at all." I was shocked. This is my sister, and she was making it feel like I had to babysit Henry all day or be disinvited from the family Christmas gathering. I stood my ground and texted her later, "I can't babysit for hours on Christmas Day. I'm happy to help for a bit, but I want to enjoy the holiday too." She didn't respond immediately, but when she did, it wasn't good. Clara told me, "If you're not willing to help out, then don't bother coming to Christmas. We'll figure something else out." I was hurt. She was using the holiday as leverage, and I felt like she was punishing me for not agreeing to her demands. It was just supposed to be a fun family day, but it was quickly turning into a battle of wills. After thinking about it for a while, I made the difficult decision to decline her invitation. "If that's the condition for me coming, I'll just stay home," I texted. I figured it wasn't worth the stress, especially if it meant I'd be the only one doing all the work while everyone else enjoyed themselves. Now, the rest of the family is mad at me. My mom, aunts, and cousins have all reached out, asking why I'm not coming to Christmas. When I explained the situation, they all sided with Clara, saying I'm being unreasonable and selfish for not helping. They said things like, "It's just one day, Ava. You're making a big deal out of nothing." It's left me feeling so torn. I don't mind helping out when it's needed, but I don't think it's fair to be expected to watch my nephew for an entire day, especially when there are other people around who could help too. I wanted to be a part of the family celebration, not just the babysitter. After I declined Clara's invitation, I thought things would settle down. I figured I'd spend Christmas quietly at home, maybe with a little bit of time with my other family members later in the day. But that wasn't how things played out. The day after I texted Clara, my mom, Judy, 56F, called me. She was upset, asking why I was being so difficult about the situation. "Ava, you know how stressful the holidays can be for Clara with Henry. It's just one day. Why can't you help her out?" I tried to explain that I wasn't opposed to helping, but I couldn't be the only one responsible for babysitting for hours. Mom didn't seem to understand. She kept saying things like, "You're making her feel like she's all alone. This is about family. Don't be so stubborn." I told her, I love Clara, but I can't be her only babysitter. It's not right. Mom wasn't hearing it. She said, "If you don't want to help, then maybe you just shouldn't come at all. This is about supporting your sister, Ava. Family is about giving when others need it." That stung. But what hurt the most was the fact that she didn't seem to care about my feelings in this situation. It felt like the whole family was siding with Clara, blaming me for the mess instead of seeing things from my point of view. Then, a few days later, Clara sent me a long message. It was pretty intense. She said, "I can't believe you're doing this. You know I need help, and you're acting like it's such a big ask. It's Christmas, Ava. You're just being selfish, and I don't want to deal with that this year. If you really cared about me and the family, you'd be here for us, not just for yourself." I didn't know how to respond to that. I wasn't trying to be selfish. I just wanted a balanced, fair holiday where I could enjoy time with my family without being stuck in a room with a toddler all day. But Clara made me feel like I was a horrible person for even asking for that. The final blow came when Clara posted a family photo from Christmas Eve on Facebook. Without me. I wasn't even there, and yet she'd still shared the image of the family enjoying themselves. I know it sounds petty, but it stung seeing everyone so happy while I was at home feeling like I'd been thrown under the bus. Now, my phone has been blowing up with texts and calls from relatives, all telling me I made a mistake. They all say I should apologize to Clara and just suck it up for the sake of family. Even my cousin, Olivia, 33F, who usually sides with me, sent a message that read, "Ava, you know Clara is stressed. Just go, be with family, and let it go. You don't want this to be the thing that tears the family apart." I've been stuck in this weird limbo, feeling like I've done the right thing but now questioning myself because everyone else is saying I haven't. So, the fallout from refusing to babysit my nephew only kept growing. I felt like the entire family was turning against me. It was one of those situations where no matter what I said, someone else had an opinion, and none of them seemed to understand my side of things. After the Facebook post, I felt like there was no going back. I was officially the villain in this family drama. It wasn't just my mom or Clara who was upset. My aunts, uncles, and even some cousins had begun to chime in. They all seemed to feel that I was being too rigid about it, and a lot of them told me I was overthinking the whole thing. One of my aunts, Diane, 50s, called me out of the blue and said, "Ava, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. It's just one day, and Clara really needs the help. What if something happened to her and you weren't there for her?" I told her I loved my sister and I wanted to be there for her, but I couldn't be the only one doing all the work. Diane said, "It's not about who's doing the work, it's about being there for family. What if you end up regretting this later?" I didn't know how to respond. It felt like everyone was asking me to ignore my feelings and just show up, no matter how uncomfortable I felt. Was I being unreasonable? Maybe I was, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more about me being taken for granted than it was about me being selfish. Then, a few days later, my mom tried to make peace by suggesting a compromise. She said, "Ava, why don't you come for the dinner part of Christmas and just give Clara a little help with Henry during the meal? That way, you're still part of things, but you don't have to babysit the whole day." I thought about it, and it seemed fair. At least I could still be there for family without being stuck in the babysitting role for hours. But then Clara texted me, "You're only willing to come to the dinner? That's it? This is the whole point of you being here, Ava. If you don't want to help, I don't see how you can be part of the family celebration." She was cold, and I could sense the anger through the text. I honestly didn't know if she was trying to get me to cave or if she was genuinely upset with me, but it seemed like nothing I did would change her mind. I took a step back to think. My entire holiday plan had been ruined by this drama, and the thought of going through another round of the same conversation with Clara felt exhausting. My mom had been pressuring me to make amends, but at what cost? Was I supposed to just roll over every time Clara made an unreasonable request? I started wondering if this situation was going to be the new norm in our family, where I had to sacrifice my own needs just to keep the peace. But, at the same time, I wanted to be a good sister and not have a permanent rift between me and Clara. Things didn't cool down after the dinner compromise idea fell apart. The text message exchanges with Clara started to feel more like a war of words. I kept telling myself I just needed to stick to my boundaries, but the guilt kept creeping in every time someone else from the family called or texted to say, "Why are you doing this? Clara really needs you right now." Then came the moment that pushed me over the edge. It was the morning of Christmas Eve, and I had planned to spend the evening with my friends instead of dealing with the family drama. I had already mentally prepared myself for being called selfish, but when I got a call from my cousin Rachel, 28F, I didn't expect what came next. Rachel was upset, asking, "Ava, why are you being so difficult about this? Everyone's just trying to make this Christmas work, and you're making it worse. Do you not care about your sister at all?" I tried to explain again, calmly, that I wasn't saying no to helping. I just didn't think it was fair to be expected to babysit all day. She didn't listen, interrupting me with, "Look, maybe you should sit out Christmas altogether if you can't get past this. No one's asking you to take over her life, just help out a little." The words hit harder than they should have. I had been so sure of my decision, but now, with everyone around me turning the situation into a right versus wrong battle, I started questioning if I had made the wrong call. Was it really so much to ask to enjoy my holiday, too? Was I wrong for wanting to be seen as more than just an on-call babysitter? I called my mom later that day to check in, and she once again pressured me, saying, "If you want a relationship with Clara, you need to get over this. You're making this whole thing about yourself, Ava." The guilt was unbearable. But that evening, when I was out with my friends, something unexpected happened. My phone buzzed with a message from Clara. It read, "I just don't get you, Ava. You're making me feel like I'm alone. I thought you'd be here for me, but I guess I was wrong. Enjoy your holiday." That stung. It stung more than I expected, because it felt like an ultimatum. It felt like she was saying that if I wasn't going to be there the way she expected me to be, then I wasn't part of the family. It hurt more than anything she had said before, and I was torn. Christmas Day arrived, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was making a huge mistake. I'd been holding my ground, but it was hard to ignore the silence. My phone had barely buzzed all day, and when I saw that I had a missed call from my mom, I knew the situation had escalated to a new level. I debated calling her back, but I wasn't ready to deal with more pressure just yet, so I spent the day at home, trying to take my mind off everything. I wasn't exactly having a Merry Christmas, but I was at least avoiding the drama. Then, a few hours into the evening, I got a text from my sister, Clara, again. This one was even more cutting than the last. She said, "I don't know why you think this is about you, but it's not. I'm just asking for a little help, and you're making this impossible. I guess I'll have to figure it out on my own. Merry Christmas." I was left staring at the screen, trying to process her words. Clara was hurt, I knew that, but her messages felt like a subtle jab. Like if I didn't apologize now, it would be too late. I couldn't understand why she couldn't see that I wasn't saying I didn't want to help, but that I couldn't just drop everything and become a full-time babysitter. I had my own life to live. Then, my phone rang again. This time, it was my mom, and I knew I couldn't put off the conversation anymore. I answered, and the second she spoke, I could tell she was upset. "Ava, what are you doing? This is ruining everything. Clara's heartbroken, and now you're sitting there acting like it's no big deal. You need to fix this, or you're going to regret it." I felt my frustration start to rise. I asked, "Why is it my responsibility to fix it? She's the one asking too much, and everyone's acting like I'm the villain for just wanting a peaceful holiday." Mom responded quickly, "Because family should come first, Ava. You should have thought of that before you dug your heels in. Now you're ruining Christmas for everyone." It felt like a never-ending cycle of guilt tripping, and I was starting to lose sight of who I was in all of this. I wanted to stand my ground, but the pressure was unbearable. I hung up the phone, still conflicted about whether I had made the right choice. But it was clear that the situation wasn't over. Clara had made her stance known, and I could tell from her tone that this wasn't something she was going to let go of anytime soon, so now, I'm stuck. I know that if I don't apologize, the family dynamic is going to be permanently affected. But if I do apologize, does that mean I'm just giving in to Clara's manipulation? I can't help but feel like I've been backed into a corner. A few days after Christmas, I finally caved in and called Clara. I didn't know if it was the right decision, but the guilt had built up to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to clear the air and at least try to make things better, even if it meant swallowing my pride. When she answered, I could hear the hesitation in her voice. It was almost like she was waiting for me to apologize first, and part of me wanted to just get it over with and end this whole thing. But I knew that wasn't going to solve anything in the long run. "Clara," I said, trying to keep my tone calm, "I just want to explain where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to hurt you, and I'm sorry if it felt like I wasn't being there for you, but I felt like I had to set boundaries. I love you, but I can't be the one to drop everything all the time." She was quiet for a while, and I could almost hear her processing what I said. "You don't get it, Ava," she finally said, her voice cracking. "You don't know how hard it's been for me. I thought you'd just step up and help me out, and instead, you turned your back on me. You don't understand what it's like to do this alone." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I knew Clara had been struggling, but I hadn't realized just how much she was carrying. I felt a twinge of guilt, but at the same time, I couldn't ignore the fact that I needed to protect my own peace too. I get it, Clara. I really do, I replied. But I also have to think about myself. I can't be your go-to every time something comes up. I can't keep sacrificing my time for everyone else. There was a long pause, and then Clara sighed. I don't know, Ava. I thought you would always have my back. It feels like you don't care. That stung, and for a moment, I didn't know what to say. It was like no matter how much I tried to explain, I couldn't change how she felt. I had spent so much time trying to defend my actions, but in the process, I realized that no matter what I did, the damage was already done. I tried one last time. I do care, Clara, but I can't always be the one to fix everything. I need to have my own boundaries, or I'll lose myself in all this. She didn't respond immediately, and I could feel the tension in the air. I don't know if I can forgive you for this, she finally said, her voice small and hurt. It's just too much right now. And with that, the conversation ended. I was left sitting there, not knowing whether we would ever be able to move past this. I knew this rift wasn't something that would heal overnight, but I couldn't tell if I had done the right thing by standing firm. In the days that followed, things were icy. It felt like I was living in a fog of uncertainty, unsure of where I stood with my sister and the rest of the family. Clara's hurtful words lingered in my mind, but I also couldn't shake the feeling that I'd made the right choice for myself, even if it came at a cost. I didn't want to lose my own identity and become someone who just dropped everything for everyone else, but I also didn't want to lose my sister. The family got involved next. Mom called again, and this time, it was clear that everyone else was feeling the tension too. Ava, please, can you just try and make things right with Clara? She's been devastated, and honestly, you're tearing the family apart. Her voice was pleading, and I could hear the desperation in her tone. I tried to explain myself once again, but it felt like no one was listening. I'm not trying to tear the family apart, Mom. I just need to set boundaries. I can't be the one to always put my life on hold for everyone else. But it seemed like that wasn't good enough. That's the problem, Ava. You never think of anyone else. You're making this all about you. My mom's words stung, but I couldn't deny that they had a point. I had been so focused on protecting my own space that I hadn't really considered how my actions were affecting everyone else. The next few days were full of phone calls, texts, and uncomfortable silences whenever I saw family members. Everyone had an opinion about what I should have done differently, and no one seemed to understand that I couldn't keep sacrificing my happiness for the sake of others. Then, I got a message from my cousin Rachel again. She was always the peacemaker in the family, and this time, she was trying to be the voice of reason. Ava, I get where you're coming from. I really do. But you need to realize that sometimes, family comes first. I know you don't want to be seen as the bad guy, but this is bigger than just you and Clara. You need to fix this before it gets worse. I couldn't help but feel frustrated by her response. It wasn't that I didn't care about family. I did. But at what point was I allowed to take care of myself without being labeled selfish? I kept thinking about Clara's reaction, how she seemed to think everything was my fault, and how I had done nothing but try to stand up for my own needs. And still, despite everything, I kept thinking about that one thing Clara said, I thought you'd always have my back. It made me question everything. Had I failed her? Had I truly let her down in a way that couldn't be fixed? I didn't have the answers, but one thing was clear. I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. No matter what choice I made, it seemed like there was always a cost. After days of back and forth, I finally realized that I couldn't keep carrying the weight of everyone's expectations. I reached out to Clara one more time, not to apologize for setting boundaries, but to simply express how much I loved her and how much I wanted to mend things. It wasn't about giving in, it was about showing that even though I had limits, I still cared deeply. Clara was silent for a while when I sent the message, but eventually, she responded. I get it, Ava. I was overwhelmed. I didn't mean to push you away, but I didn't know who else to turn to. We talked for a while, and though things weren't magically fixed, it felt like we were starting to understand each other again. I knew there would still be bumps ahead, but I felt like we were both finally meeting in the middle, even if it took longer than I wanted. So, Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my nephew on Christmas and standing my ground when my sister said I couldn't come to the holiday if I didn't help?
What do you think? Did Ava handle this situation the right way, or should she have stepped up more for her sister? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to hear more stories and updates, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out.